Cisco SecureX Threat Hunting Example, Poweliks. I think that's how it's said. Here's the overview screen. Lots of information here. I can pivot into a lot of this data, but I'm going to jump over to the dashboard. Now, we can start anywhere. For example, we can pivot right into this and we can do threat response. And threat response is obviously going to query not only Cisco technologies, but third party and provide us a relational view of what really happened. But we're going to jump into events here and we're going to drill down. You can see all kinds of things here. This one looks interesting. This is a file that's been sandboxed. We'll look at the report. And you can see here, there's the behavioral indicators, talks a little bit about what happened here, specifically at Poweliks. It was detected. I can jump to network traffic, processes, artifacts, file activity, registry activity. I can also look at the sample itself by downloading it and running it in my own environment. I can also play the video and see what happened when the sample was detonated in a sandbox. Now, I can also look at it from a user perspective because that's probably what they saw. I can download the PCAP. I can pivot into the artifacts. All really good stuff. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at this particular SHA. And in fact, we can do all kinds of different things. But we're going to add this to a new case. So we're going to build out a case book where we're going to start our response or incident response plan. We're going to document all this data. We're going to jump into threat response. Why? Well, we want a little bit more holistic view of what happened. We want to see the relationships between observations and maybe any targets we might have in the organization. So here we can see all kinds of data. Now we can move this around however we see fit. We can see what's connected to what. We can also take action right from here. We can add this to a block list, and this now would block it in multiple different areas within our infrastructure and our security defenses. We can also jump to the endpoint and make decisions here as well. Maybe we'll use some orchestration and automation by taking a forensic snapshot and isolating the host. And in fact, that's what we're going to do. Now look at this. Here's a couple of URLs. Now that's not what we were investigating, but there's some relationships between that and that SHA-256. And so we're going to add that to our casebook as well. So pretty neat. So we're building out our casebook. We're seeing the relationships between observations and targets within the organization. We're getting some really good insight. But first, let's jump to our endpoint. And I'm going to go to retdemos.com. And Umbrella hopefully will block it if it knows about it, and in fact it does, so that's good. Why I'm doing this is I want to show you that sometimes adding a little bit more information is going to provide you additional insight into what might be happening in the organization. So you might start with one specific asset that was targeted and there's residual or things that might be or exist from that particular attack on other assets, and you might find out there's more to the story here. We're going to give this a name. You can give it maybe your internal incident response number or change request or whatever you use to track. I've got the SHA-256 in the URL. I can also search here. And you can see here's the domain when I did the search of that path. And in fact, I'm going to add this to the casebook as well. So I'll have a URL, I'll have a SHA-256, and I'll have a domain. And remember, I started out with the SHA-256. So I've got a little bit more information now. I've got this URL that had a relationship with this SHA-256, and the domain is obviously part of that URL. Now I can come in here and I can add some notes. So let me just quickly, obviously you don't want to see me type, that's going to be painful. So maybe you have the time, whatever the time might be, endpoint AMP detected and blocked a SHA-256. Great, let's copy that information in, and we're just providing any other analyst some insight. Time Y, investigated threat response and picked up domains and URLs added to the case, ret.demos.com, and again, now we're just copying and pasting some of the other elements like the URL. So that's great, we'll save this out. Now we have these three elements, right? We've got the domain, the SHA, the URL. We can actually regenerate that investigation to see if anything's new. And in fact, right away, you should start seeing something. We've got another target here. Let's just move some things around here so we can get a better view of what's happening. And that target is the host that we went to that retdemos.com domain. So we can see that that identity from Umbrella had tried to reach out to retdemos.com and has nothing to do with the SHA. Now, we manually did that, but there could be other things that are taking place here. We could take a forensic snapshot. We might be able to isolate depending on the asset that was targeted and what's installed on it. The point here is that, you know, maybe this was ret.demos was sent to this individual in an email. Wouldn't that be good to have? And again, it didn't happen in this case, but see the subject and the email address of whoever received it. The point being is there could be an exploit kit server on the other end that scans the box and pops it. Anyways, it's all bad stuff. We want to make sure that we know everything that's happening. What I'm doing here is this is a snapshot. This is going to allow us to save this particular investigation. And so I can use it to investigate later on or review. I can add it to an incident that might exist as well. The point here is that I can save my investigation. I don't have to start all over again, or I can use it as a teaching tool as well. How did we come to this determination? Well, here, go through the snapshot, have a look at the data, and provide some guidance. So that's pretty neat. All right, so that's good. We can close this off. And again, now you can go to the snapshot. Here's your collection. You can click it. When you click it, it's just going to bring you back exactly where you were when you saved that snapshot. All right, let's jump back to the ribbon where we had the casebook, and let's add some more information here. We timed Z, isolated the host, took a forensic snapshot, put the host name, and maybe the team is now re-imaging the device while we continue to analyze the forensic data captured by the secure endpoint. And this is where we're going to maybe jump into Orbital and look at all of the processes and, you know, anything that had to do on the endpoint when we took that forensic snapshot that we might be interested in. Really, really neat stuff.